Welcome into a brand new week on the Ravens Rundown, powered by Chat Sports. Tyler Jones here with you. Appreciate you joining us. Today, we are talking trades, trade targets, as well as trade chips for the Ravens to see where they can try to improve their roster here in the month of June. Let's go ahead and start with some trade chips, some pieces to potentially move on for the Baltimore Ravens. You got to start with Chuck Clark, obviously, with the moves that the Ravens made this offseason at the safety position. His position has been covered, essentially. He has been replaced with what they did to bring in Kyle Hamilton in the draft, and then Marcus Williams, the safety from the New Orleans Saints. There's not really a need for Chuck Clark anymore. And when we did our trade rumors mailbag last week, which if you haven't watched already, I'd encourage you to go back, about half of you guys were sending in trade ideas for Chuck Clark. So it seems to be the consensus is to move on from Chuck Clark there. Another name, Derek Wolfe on the defensive line. And then there's Ben Powers on the offensive line. Ben Powers really could end up a number of ideas. He could potentially compete for a starting position. He could get cut or be a second or third stringer. It's really all over the place for Ben Powers there. But in the meantime, our pinned comment today on the show, we want to hear from you guys. Do you think the Ravens are done making any moves at this point? Are they going to stay pat as is, or are they going to make another move or two before the season begins? Let us know in the comment section. Type Y for yes, type N for no if you see the Ravens making a move. You're about to get an ad break, take advantage of it. While that ad's playing, get your votes in. Y for yes, N for no if the Ravens are done making moves. Now let's go ahead and look at the trade targets for the Ravens. I have 4 names that I want to show you at 4 different positions to look at. Let's go ahead and start at the defensive line. Just down the road, the Washington football team, now known as the Commanders. One name to look at is Daron Payne. Daron Payne, that is, the defensive lineman there for Washington. And some things on him. You look at his numbers the past few seasons, he has gotten better about every year. You look at 2021, he had 61 tackles, which was more than the previous 3 seasons, 6 tackles for loss, 4.5 sacks. That number, the best since 2018, and his quarterback hits went way up from 8 all the way to 15 there. So Payne with some good statistics at this point in his career. And he's in a contract year. I think he could be on the way out, so maybe it's a situation where Washington could move on from him to try to see what they could get out of him, because I don't see them giving him a new contract after this offseason. So maybe you have a chance here for Payne to get something where it doesn't cost you a whole lot of them just trying to get anything out of him at this point. So Payne, a name to keep in mind. A few more names to get to in just a moment, but we want you to help us out. If you share this video, then we are going to shout you out here on the program. Here's what you got to do. Click the share button and select the Twitter icon. Tag Chat Sports. Use the hashtag RavensFlock and tweet it away. You do so, we're going to mention you on the next edition of the Ravens Rundown. Easy to do. Just click that share button, select the Twitter icon, tag Chat Sports, and use the hashtag RavensFlock as well as tweeting that, and you'll be in great shape there. Our next target, Deion Jones from the Atlanta Falcons. No secret that the Falcons are in rebuild mode, that they're trying to move on from older players there with that team as they bring in a new era there of Falcons football after Matt Ryan. And Deion Jones coming off a season that wasn't great last year. Here's his advanced statistics. I believe they call these the next-gen stats. He had a situation where he gave up about 5 touchdowns, 584 yards, completion percentage about 78.6%, and 17 missed tackles. So what you would hope is that things are better than that there is a turnaround. The one thing that I look at with this depth chart with the Ravens is that you have so many good pieces that you're not asking Jones to do everything, that it would be a situation where, unlike what he had in Atlanta, he'd be surrounded by good guys that are doing their part and can carry the team to an extent. So that to me is what intrigues me about Jones is you're not asking him to lead your defense, but you are asking him to fill another spot on what's already a very good defense there with the Ravens and their linebacking unit. What position do the Ravens still need to address? That is one of our questions for you today. Go ahead and comment in the comment section below. Tell me a position that comes to mind. Offense, defense, special teams, I don't know. Tell me what you think the Ravens need to address there. And while you're down there, make sure to subscribe to the Ravens Rundown. We're bringing you content each and every day here on the channel. Non-stop coverage. Best part about it, it is free. And you hit the red sub button or you go to youtube.com/RavensTV. Turn those notifications on so you never miss an episode. Just go ahead and slap that button there, right? Make an emphasis. We want you to be a part of what we're doing each and every day here in the Ravens Rundown as we count down to kickoff. We'll have you covered like no one else will here on YouTube. All right. You know we were going to bring up a wide receiver, right? That was going to happen. And a name that has caught some interest as of late that has come up within the last week or two is Darius Slayton of the New York Football Giants. And you look at Slayton's numbers this past season, not great. 13 games played, 339 yards, just 2 touchdowns. And I know that the games played was lower than the previous 2 seasons, but that was statistically the worst season that he's had in quite some time. But Darius Slayton also has, quite the injury history as well. So what I do like with Slayton is that you do not have an established number 2 or 3 or 4 receiver. Once you get past Rashad Bateman and go to Devin and James and Tylen, that crew, we don't really know for certain who's going to be the number 2. Everyone leans towards Devin to be that number 2 guy, but Darius Slayton could make things certainly interesting and provide much-needed depth to that wide receiver position. Look, we know that this Ravens offense, in particular the passing game, is going to be led by their tight ends, what their tight ends do. But if you can find a good receiver like Slayton that might not cost you a whole lot, I don't think you're going to have to give an arm and a leg that gets Slayton away from the New York Giants at this point. If that's the case, then that could be a nice addition potentially. Now, you hope he stays healthy. If he can do that, then watch out. We'll see. I do think they need to add a receiver. Slayton would be a name I would keep in mind because of the cost not being too much, I think, for him. One more name for you here, and that is at the outside linebacker spot from the Jacksonville Jaguars. Chaisson is the name, the final name that we're bringing you here. And look at his statistics through 31 games in his career. 50 tackles, 6 tackles for loss, 2 sacks, pressure rate 9.67. He's underperformed at this point. It's no secret about that. But he's still relatively young, right? So you would hope that the potential can eventually show itself. That we know that he has talent. He's shown some signs here and there, but can he take that next step up? That, to me, intrigues me to see as far as that goes. And we mentioned earlier with the depth at the linebacker spots, again, wouldn't it be pressure on him because you have other guys to work with as opposed to when he was in Jacksonville and that defense was just a mess from the time that he's been there. But to me, that's an intriguing name to keep an eye on there. So let's go ahead and look back at the 4 names that we gave you. Daron Payne, the Washington Commanders defensive lineman. Deion Jones, linebacker from the Atlanta Falcons. Darius Slayton, wide receiver from the New York Giants. And Chaisson, the outside linebacker from Jacksonville. So that's our 4 trade targets. Before we go, I want to hear from you guys. Name a player you want the Ravens to trade for. Is it one of these 4 guys? Is it somebody else? Let me know in the comment section a name that the Ravens should trade for. Ravens Rundown, make sure you are subscribed so you never miss an episode of the Rundown. We're bringing you coverage each and every day right here on the channel by Chat Sports. It's youtube.com/RavensTV, youtube.com/RavensTV.